Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Parazox, a home for premium high-quality storytelling and documentary investigations into the edges of reality. I discover hidden history, true crime, breakthrough technology, paranormal anomalies, and mysteries that refuse to be solved. And tonight, we're going to find out why a sound that originated from New Mexico has now become a global phenomenon. And the terrifying thing is that it might not even exist, and now it is affecting millions of real lives. In the quiet desert town of Taos, New Mexico, some people are kept awake every night by a low, vibrating hum that most of their neighbors can't hear at all. Imagine moving across the country for a fresh start and discovering a noise in your new home that never stops, that nobody else believes is real, and that you can't escape. That's the Taos Hum. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Scientists went to Taos to hunt it down and came back without a clear answer. This sound drives people to insomnia, headaches, and even despair. But microphones barely pick it up. Would you believe me? Is this a government cover-up or just a natural phenomenon? Stay to the end of this video, because we're going to play you a recreation of what the hum sounds like and how people describe it, and show you how a mystery in one small town connects to a global phenomenon. So stick around and subscribe for more mysteries. Taos is situated in northern New Mexico, surrounded by mountains and desert, with a rich history that includes the Taos Pueblo, one of the oldest continuously inhabited communities in the United States. On paper, it's the kind of place you go to escape noise. But starting in the early 1990s, a small group of residents began reporting something strange. They described it as a low, droning rumble. Somewhere between a distant truck idling outside your house or a diesel engine, you can feel more than you hear. It was often worse at night. It seemed louder indoors than outdoors. And for some people, it never stopped. Here's the twist. Most people in Taos heard nothing at all. No engine, no hum, just silence. The best current surveys suggest that only a small group of people, often quoted around 2%, sometimes higher, are affected. That mystical thing about it is that if you hear it, you can't ignore it. If you don't, you might doubt it exists at all. So who was hearing it? I mean, what was producing it? And why did the usual tools, like microphones, sensors, and a lot of very patient scientists, struggle to find anything unusual and always come back empty-handed and more confused than ever? Want to hear something mysterious? Taos, New Mexico, isn't alone. Reports have surfaced from Bristol to Kokomo to coastal Canada, and they were so overwhelming that researchers built a world hum map to collect consistent accounts and document evidence of this strange phenomenon. To understand the Taos Hum, picture this. You move into what feels like your dream house. The first week is perfect, bright days, dark, starry nights. Then one night, you wake up at 3 a.m. There's a noise, not loud, not dramatic, just this low, steady rumble. You get up, walk around the house, you check the fridge, the heater, and the ceiling fan. Nothing. The next night, it's there again. You ask your partner if they hear it. They don't, and they tell you that you must be hearing things. For some Taos residents, this didn't happen once. It went on for weeks, then months. Some people reported nausea, dizziness, pressure behind their eyes, and a feeling like their skull was vibrating. And the worst part wasn't the sound itself. It was knowing that almost nobody else could hear it, and wondering if that meant it wasn't real. By the early 1990s, enough people in Taos were complaining that it stopped being just a weird neighbor story. Letters went out, local authorities got involved. Eventually, the mystery caught national attention. What was this strange noise haunting a peaceful town in New Mexico? The whole thing looked like something you would see in an episode of X-Files, and here's where it gets interesting. Instead of ignoring this phenomenon, officials invited a team of researchers, acousticians, physicists, and hearing specialists to investigate. If this was real, the experts should be able to measure it. So, the Taos Hum officially went from rumor to scientific case study. During the investigation, researchers interviewed residents who claimed to have heard the hum and conducted a series of tests. They brought in sensitive microphones and vibration sensors, and they mapped out where people heard the sound the most. Here are a few things that stood out to them. Only a small fraction of locals, roughly a couple of percent, reported clearly hearing the hum. Those people didn't agree on the exact frequency, but many described something in the 30 Hz to 80 Hz range, a very low, bassy region close to the limit of human hearing. And crucially, microphones didn't consistently pick up a single, strong, mysterious signal that matched what people were describing. That doesn't mean there was no unusual sound. It just means there wasn't a clean, obvious, there it is explanation. Everything we have covered so far is just the setup. In the final part of this video, you'll hear the hum for yourself. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, that last section might change how you think about background noise. So, stay with me until the end of the video. The official reports lean toward a mix of explanations, some real low-frequency noise in the environment, plus the way certain ears and brains react to that noise. In the end, they couldn't point to one humming machine or one hidden underground structure and say, here, this is your Taos Hum. The most grounded explanation is also the least exciting. The Taos Hum might be machinery. Let me explain. Low-frequency sound travels far, especially at night, when the air is cooler and the world is quieter. A factory, a compressor station, heavy trucks on a distant road, even high-pressure gas pipelines have all been proposed as possible sources for regional hums. But here's the interesting part. Some researchers who've studied hums elsewhere have linked specific cases to industrial sites, like steelworks or big transformers, once they did careful mapping and analysis. And that's where the more interesting ideas start. Look at Taos on a map. High desert, surrounding mountains, a town sitting in a wide valley. Some scientists have wondered if the local geography could be part of the problem. When low-frequency sound reflects off hills, buildings, or atmospheric layers, it can create standing waves, pockets where the sound is stronger. Think of it like a room where certain notes on a guitar get weirdly loud. Now mix in the structures people live in. Certain walls, roofs, or even entire houses can resonate at specific frequencies. So two houses on the same street might have totally different experiences. One is perfectly quiet. The other acts like a giant bass amplifier for some distant, boring piece of machinery. If you live in that second house, the hum isn't out there in the desert. It's inside your walls. But what if part of the mystery isn't in the landscape? Is it in us? Some experts estimate that in many hum cases, roughly 1/3 might be due to external noise, and the rest may be linked to how people perceive and focus on everyday background sounds. For example, a ventilation system might be barely noticeable to most people, but for a subset of sensitive listeners, those become an inescapable, low-frequency torture device once they start focusing on them. On top of that, there's tinnitus, the perception of sound without an external source, usually described as ringing, but it can also be buzzing or humming in some cases. If you combine real low-frequency noise and a resonant house, and an anxious brain that can't stop listening, you get something that feels exactly like a mysterious hum that nobody else understands. And crucially, the suffering is real, even if the explanation is partly internal. This is the point where this weird hum stops being a local story. Taos isn't the only place on Earth where people complain about an invisible hum. The Bristol hum in the UK, the Kokomo hum in Indiana, the Auckland hum in New Zealand, the Windsor hum in Canada, which many residents blamed on heavy industry across the border, and most recently, a mysterious low-frequency noise reported on the Isle of Lewis in Scotland, nicknamed the Hebridean hum, has left hundreds of people complaining of sleep problems, headaches, and dizziness. Most researchers think we're looking at many different local causes, industrial, environmental, and perceptual, wrapped in the same basic key points, and it slowly takes over their lives. A few people have even linked the hum to extreme distress and mental health crises. That's why some experts don't just focus on finding the source. They also focus on coping strategies like relaxation techniques and sound masking, like using fans or white noise to drown out the hum, and sometimes cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, to help reduce the anxiety and stress response to the sound, whether the noise is industrial, acoustic, or neurological. The impact it has on people's lives is absolutely real. And of course, no good mystery would be complete without some wilder theories. Over the years, people have suggested that the hum might be a secret military communication system using very low-frequency radio waves, a government cover-up, and some wilder theories like experimental energy weapons, or even UFO activity and alien technology. The problem? There's not much solid evidence for any of these, but linking a specific hum in a specific town to a classified project is hard to do without, actual data. Still, these stories stick around because they fill the gaps where science just says, we're not sure yet. And humans hate blank spaces in the story. So what about Taos right now? Some residents say the noise faded over the years. Others think people just stopped talking about it as much, or moved away. And a few still quietly insist, no, it's still there. We still hear it, which leaves Taos in a strange place. There is no single magical Taos Hum machine. There's a messy overlap of physics, engineering, architecture, and human perception, all piled on top of each other in one quiet desert town. But just because an explanation is messy doesn't mean it's not real. We've talked a lot about the Taos Hum. Let's hear something like what people describe. Keep in mind that this is a recreation, not an actual recording from Taos. Every person describes it a bit differently. If you're wearing headphones, you might not even hear much, especially if your device cuts off very low bass. But imagine this sound, faint yet constant, inside your house at night. Every night. Would you notice it? Would it drive you crazy? In the end, the Taos Hum is a reminder of how strange our relationship with sound really is. For example, two people can stand in the same room. One hears nothing, the other hears something they'll never forget. Before you click away, I want to hear from you. Do you ever notice a low hum where you live? Have you ever moved houses, changed appliances, or gone on vacation and suddenly realized it was gone? Drop your experiences in the comment. I'll be reading through them and pinning some of the most interesting ones. If you like mysteries that don't stop at spooky stories but actually dig into the science, hit subscribe. This channel works best as a community project. Your comments, your stories, your corrections, they all help shape the next video. So subscribe, drop your experience with the hum if you have one, and let's figure this stuff out together. Until then, sleep well. And if you can't, maybe now you know one more possible reason why.